Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's HBCU Game Day. I'm Tolly Carr, and usually Simone Stanley is sitting right here. Miles Schultz. There is no Simone. Simone is a busy woman, very busy. So she might pop in later. She might not. But let's get to these guys here. You see them there in the middle of your screen, Vaughn Wilson and Wilton Jackson from Jackson, Mississippi. Guys, there is a lot of news to get into, so let's just do it. Let's start here. The big story. I'm sorry. Even since we agreed to do this podcast, even bigger news. So let me get to the biggest news of all. Vaughn Wilson, break it down for us. FAMU, Mississippi Valley State will not happen this weekend.
This game has been a mystery since it started. After FAMU AD Angela Suggs made an announcement at the FAMU National Alumni Association this summer, Mississippi Valley quickly followed with a response confirming the game. It has been a mystery. In early August, August 12th, we began to make calls because the pingbacks on our stories that we write kept saying, we have no information, we're trying to buy tickets, we can't buy tickets. So we followed up with calls to the FAMU ticket office. FAMU ticket office says, this is Mississippi Valley's game. All the information will have to come from there, but no, we do not have any tickets to sell. We called the Mississippi Valley ticket office. They said, I think they are still working on it. That is the quote that I got when I called the Mississippi Valley State ticket office. So we wrote an article on HBCU Game Day that says the game was in limbo because there were no specifics. There was nothing from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. There were no tickets available. Immediately got a call from one of the promoters debunking that, saying that they were about to finalize everything. And I was like, it's 50 days out from the game. Mercedes-Benz Stadium takes a while to fill. To partially fill Mercedes-Benz Stadium takes a while. They were emphatic that they were moving forward. We kept with our story, which the last sentence that I wrote said, if all of this falls through, the game will end up in Itabena.
And that's where the game will be,
and
but
so,
it will not be there this weekend.
It will not be in Itabena this weekend because it's so late. I'm sure, Mississippi Valley can't get staff to staff the stadium, to do the hot dog vendors, to do security. That kind of thing takes time. So FAMU and Mississippi Valley State agreed to move the game to Thanksgiving weekend, November 29th, which for FAMU is after the Florida Classic, which is a difficult time for that game to be.
Wilton, this is a hot mess for the week of a game.
Absolutely. This is what you would consider a nightmare for either team. You want to have logistics planned before any game, any particular week. To Vaughn's reporting, thinking about this whole situation, it's just like, are we serious right now? Like we're really sitting in a situation where a game was supposed to take place. We're essentially days away. And then we get this information being brought down. But I think to Vaughn's point, just going back to the fact when he was saying it's 50 days out, there's so many things that's supposed to be aligned. You have things that, not even just football, right? But when you have big events, you're talking about there's a certain level of like advertising, selling of like merchandise, different things like that at 100 days, let alone 50 days. So you get to a 50-day mark and there's no signage, no tickets, this school has the tickets or this school has the tickets. That's complete mess. And I guess the next side of this I want to say is this. FAMU having to play another game after they would have played the Florida Classic, considering they lost to Mississippi Valley last year and where they are right now. That's not a recipe for success, in my opinion. Granted, this is above them, but that's really, really bad timing too.
And Vaughn, this is the same group of promoters that were promoting the Bethune-Cookman football game that was supposed to take place at an NFL stadium earlier this season that ended up being reverted back to a Bethune-Cookman home game. So that's two swings and a miss by the same group.
Yeah, a lot of parallels to both of these games. And the difference is Mississippi Valley, this was started by an interim AD, and that interim AD left, and so the permanent AD was left with trying to pick up the pieces. In the case of Bethune-Cookman, Reggie Theus was there from beginning to end, And when I talked to him after they bowed out of the Tampa Classic, after a couple of deadlines were met, he was like, no, for the fan experience, for our student athletes, we're just going to move this game back to campus. And, you know, even forego what could have been a glitzy situation for the sake of continuity, we're going to move that game back home. So September 20th, they will be able to have that game with Southern in Daytona without a whole bunch of adjustments. Who's lost, who suffers the most, probably is not the football team and administration. It's the fans who've bought tickets, plane tickets, hotels, Airbnbs, trying to get deposits back. You know, we may have passed the threshold that this is so late that they're not able to get all of their deposits back. So there are promoters who planned events around this game being in Atlanta.
There's football analysts who won't get a check this week.
And then, you know, I got a call from a football analyst who was supposed to be covering that game. Now they've assigned him somewhere else. So there is a ripple effect of this game, and it's just unfortunate. You know, classic games, just like Wilton said, there are benchmarks when you do big events that you have to be at. And what was the red flag to me to even write the article I did on August 12th was it doesn't seem like any of these benchmarks have been hit, and they were not hit. And even when the tickets went on sale, a lot of people don't know, Mercedes-Benz and Ticketmaster were protecting themselves. They called it pre-sales. To me, that says they kept that money in escrow because they didn't really feel that it was full-fledged ready to go. It was like a soft launch for them, but we're going to hold on to this money in case we have to refund it.
Well, me and Mo Carter were supposed to be analysts on the game. I'll survive without a check this week. But when I texted Mo on Monday, I just felt it in my heart. I was like, this is not going to happen. I was like, Mo, are we doing a game this weekend? He was like, yeah, Atlanta. And I swear, an hour later, Mo's texted me back, what's going on? Gaither wrote this article out, and I was driving, and I was like, I can only imagine what you're talking about, Mo, and I bet you it's the fact that something has gone south with this game. Vaughn, you are more into administration through your history of work in HBCUs than either me or Wilton. What type of vetting process happens with promoters? I mean, do they have to present some sort of deposit? Do they have to show some level of money, some level of holding something in escrow? Like, what is that process like that you are aware of?
Let me make a parallel. Since I have on my Edward Waters shirt given to me by the president of Edward Waters University, Dr. A. Zachary Faison, a couple weeks ago, just say the Unity Classic in Jacksonville. That classic was decided. I was a part of the team that was organizing the Unity Classic. We decided to have Virginia Union. We got with Virginia Union and said, so that makes Edward Waters the promoters, in fact. So they said, ask Virginia Union, what would it take for you all to come down? We want to fly. We don't want to bus. Can y'all fly us down, get us to hotels, we'll play the game. They were sent the hotel tickets. Sent the confirmations to the hotel and sent the money for the plane. Done deal. Everything happened. They got what they expected, bragged about how great the whole celebration was of a classic. Thus, huge sponsors have come behind because it started out small, but it delivered everything it said it was going to deliver. That's the key to a classic game. You have to deliver. This group, I think, bit off more than they could chew, not only trying to do the Atlanta, but Tampa as well. It was just, and neither one of them came off because it was too close. Nobody with experience says you can't do a classic last minute like a party. It's not a party. It is a game. There are logistics from parking, security, vendors, the venue, Ticketmaster, advertising. And there are so many people in Atlanta say they didn't hear any ads about the game.
I didn't.
So it was so the universities, I'm not throwing Valley under the bus, but let me say this, it's Valley's game. When benchmarks were not met, it was up to Valley to do like Reggie Theus did at Bethune, said, you know what, this is not working. let's take the safe route and go ahead and have our game at Itta-Bena. That should have been done a long time ago. And it was not done, and it was drug out, and apparently the promoters continued to string both schools along that things were happening that eventually didn't happen, thus no game this week.
All right, Wilton, you're a lifelong card-carrying member of the SWAC. Your whole life, you grew up on the campus of Jackson State. Let me ask you this question, Wilton, because we're getting to this point in 2025, in my opinion. If every week is a classic, is it really a classic? Doesn't a classic need to be special?
It does. Like every game can't be a classic, and also kind of to Vaughn's point, every game is not necessarily meant to be a classic. I mean, you can have a great game, have a great atmosphere, get fans to come out and to attend the game, pack the stadium, because of course in athletics everything's a money game, and you want to be able to generate dollars because that's how your athletic organizations continue to function. But at the end of the day, you don't have to slap a classic on every single game. It's just not worth it because for one, you're not going to always get the payout on the back end. And then two, it's just like people know each year which games are going to come to the most. Like specifically when it comes to Jackson State, whether you call it the Capital City Classic, whether you call it the Soul Bowl, people coming. Like it just is what it is. When Jackson State plays Southern, the Boombox Classic, they're going to come to that game. Now, when, say, Jackson State plays Alabama A&M in the Gulf Coast Challenge, that's a classic now. Do I think that the attendance will be as big as either of those two games? Probably not. But I'm not against that. But at the end of the day, like if the attendance is not where it needs to be, or, money is not made at the same level as those other two games that I just mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, that goes back to the point of, if you want to make a game a classic, make it a classic, but also know that you're not going to get the same payout that you're going to get from those type of games, like the bigger games that I mentioned versus some of the more smaller ones.
And Wilton, I think that's the key to it. These guys wanted to model this Georgia football classic after the Atlanta football classic.
Yep.
In the Atlanta football classic, FAMU was playing Southern. FAMU was playing Tennessee State. Those are natural rivalries. Yep. Two great bands, two traveling fan bases. That's how you get 70,000 people in there in 2003. That's how you get 67,000 people in there in 2002 and 2004. But to just put two teams in there and expect two random teams, FAMU didn't do it by itself. It was the matchup, just like Wilton said. That's the key to a class. The classic is the matchup.
Yep.
You can't out-ancillary event a classic. You can't outdo the game and the halftime. It has to be a matchup with fan bases will travel to, and then the job of the promoters is just to gather the additional local people or whatever people. But if you're trying from scratch like this Georgia Football Classic did, to have a team that has not done well in Atlanta at any time, with a team that has done well in Atlanta, the matchup does not have the feet, and it just didn't grab.
There it is. We'll leave that there. We got a lot to get to, but let's stick with FAMU. Over the weekend, the biggest story for HBCU Game Day and across the country in many HBCU circles was the insult that was delivered to the Honeybees, the plus-size dance troupe that's a part of the Mighty Marching Hornets from Alabama State. Joe Bullard is he's the voice of FAMU. He's on the PA for the Marching 100, not for the game. That's B-Dot. B-Dot did not insult anybody. It was Joe Bullard.
He didn't have anything to do with it.
B-Dot does a lot, and he's played for a lot, but not B-Dot this time.
Right. So let's bring it back on the screen. Joe Bullard has issued an apology. This is not his entire apology, but we'll just read a little bit of it here. I'd like to sincerely apologize for my remarks during the Florida A&M University versus Alabama State University football game this past Saturday. My comments directed towards the ASU Honeybees were meant as lighthearted banter, but I now recognize that they came across in a way that was hurtful and disrespectful. You can read that full apology. We have it for you at HBCUGameday.com. We got an interesting mix. Me and Vaughn are roughly the same age. Wilton a little bit younger. Vaughn, there was a time in our lives where you could say just about anything. We were a whole lot less politically correct. You can even say we were meaner, tougher, rougher, whatever you want to call it. Once upon a time, Eddie Murphy did stand up. Go look at Raw today. Eddie Murphy could not do the jokes that he did then, but there was a time. And there are people, again, Vaughn's age, my age, that generation and up, that maybe sometimes forget that it is now 2025 and not 1985. I'm not here to roast Joe Bullard and cancel him. He made a terrible judgment in error. He has since apologized for it. I think that's the only thing he can do. But the lesson, or the least he could do, the lesson learned here, though, Vaughn, you cannot body shame people. You cannot pick on people for their, you name it. If it's different than what you think is normal or whatever, you cannot do that. And that insult landed very flatly. Not only from Alabama State side, it didn't even sit well with people at FAMU, Vaughn.
That was the wildest moment. As everyone absorbed what was said, it was quiet. Then there were moans. Then there were boos coming from both sides of the stadium. It was an unfortunate, but just like you said, and we're just being honest. Said in another time, it gets zero traction. In today's cancel culture, yes, it gets Time Magazine and TMZ and People Magazine are reporting it now, just because the news cycle now just grabs onto anything that it thinks can have feet, and it exaggerates that. Now, am I minimizing how the Honeybees felt? Not at all. Me and several other of the media guys were actually on the sideline commending the Honeybees at some of the moves. Like, they did something, I was like, man, I just pulled a muscle watching them do that. And then our reaction to them flipping one of the other young ladies over them, I mean, we just applauded them for what they did. And, you know, the bottom line is those are college-age young ladies out there. And in our society, we have gone above and beyond to make sure we protect our women from insults. So just as you said, it just hit a lot of wrong chords. Comedians do it all the time. They'll do a joke that's flat, that has gone too far. Their fame is built off of running it to that edge. If you tell middle of the road jokes, you're not going to be famous. The best comedians run right to that edge and know when to stop. But even every now and then, they go across that line and have to be reeled back. And I think that's the best way I can characterize Joe Bullard. It just went a little bit above, outside of that line.
And Wilton, we are in a time where, listen, man, people are coming for HBCUs. And I think when Vaughn talks about that fine line, and I don't think it's that hard to walk, where you can playfully play up the rivalry, insult your opponent, but know that it's still rooted in community and love. I was at the Southern Heritage Classic. I had the chance to do that game along with HBCU Go over the weekend. And I think UAPB announcer, or it could have been Alcorn, I can't remember, but whoever went second, they came on and said, all right, now that all the fans are back from the popcorn stand, you can watch a real band. Okay, that's playful. It's a jab. It's not personal. It's not going to insult anybody, but it seals the fact that it's a rivalry, but we're having fun. It's not a hard line to walk. And in 2025, it's just the right thing to do.
It is. And when I saw this story come out, I looked at it from a couple of different angles. And one of those angles, too, was to your point, what you just kind of laid out, was that when you attend an HBCU, specifically a football game, or when you start talking about bands, halftime shows, I can just tell you from my childhood to even now, if you come to a halftime show in an HBCU atmosphere, you're going to get trash talk. You're going to get banter. I mean, I'm going to just be real. Let's take Jackson State Southern, Jackson State Alcorn, two schools obviously rivalries there. You're gonna get a lot of disrespect when these two bands face off against each other. Not disrespect like they're about to fight, but like there's just it's gonna be a playful banter, disrespect, or dislike between the two schools. That's just the nature of HBCU landscape, or the diaspora within HBCU bands. But as a person who teaches, say, a sports media and society course, and we talk about subjects like this when it comes to body shaming and things like that. How many times did we see, again, you guys alluded to it, late 80s, early 90s, women had to look a certain type of way when they were on the covers of magazines and things like that. So, and the thing is, the Honeybees, this is not like this is not a group that just came out of nowhere. Like, they've been around for some time. And I just feel to myself, like, for Joe Bullard, I know he was trying to carry that same banner. Like, these were maybe like two bands and I'm going to give my jabs here or there. I personally probably wouldn't have said that. That's just me. I wouldn't have said that, but that's my stance on how I feel about these things, because I look at it from a standpoint of, yes, I understand HBCU culture and the jabs that we may take against each other from a band standpoint, from our athletics, just friendly banter, even in the stands amongst fans watching the game. But in a situation like this, in today's culture of like body shaming women, yeah, that's not going to work. And as a person who deals with, or not necessarily deals with, but like works in areas of sports, particularly like WNBA and women's college basketball, these things don't go over well at all. Like, I won't necessarily say you'll get canceled, but you will get talked about and you will receive backlash. And I'm not surprised that he received the backlash from this. However, I would like to think that as a person who's been doing this, he's been the voice of the 100 since 1975, I believe. So being able to, for him, he's thinking like, well, I've been doing this for so long, like it should go over just like every other joke. Not this time. And to your point, Vaughn, I think this was one of those situations where he would really look back and think to himself, like, I was just trying to have fun, but I really want to make sure that I get this apology across to know that, like, I really didn't mean sincere harm to these young ladies.
Yeah, I think that's what his apology said, and you could almost see him saying that. Yeah. And another thing about it, Wilton, the banter is, it's not something that he wrote down. It's like off the cuff. You know what I'm saying? Right. So you have to take that second moment to pull yourself back. It creates an opportunity more to go across the line because you are freestyling, as opposed to if it was a prepared statement. Because the announcers and the band is a whole different atmosphere for the football game. Anybody knows about HBCU, they're their own environment.
Yep.
As relevant as you can make that banter is normally after something that just happened. Don't let a tuba player fall from the band before. They're going to call them out. You know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely.
Anything, a flag, somebody drop a flag or a baton. It's like, so it's off the cuff. So that created the environment even more for this slip up to happen.
Yeah. Look, no one is without fault. We all make mistakes. And I think following that up with an apology, again, was the least that Joe Bullard can do. So we definitely appreciate him seeing the error of his ways there, and hopefully a lesson learned for all of us moving forward. All right, let's go to Vaughn. There's one thing I do want to pick up. Marvin Johnson's response, the new president of FAMU. You really seem to appreciate what she had to say.
Listen, there's no doubt that there is a contingent of the FAMU fan base that it has not warmed up to President Marvin Johnson. But when the president of a competing university that visited your campus, Dr. Ross, this is why one of the reasons she had to respond. Dr. Ross and his team came in on Friday. They attended a FAMU alumni and Alabama State alumni party together. These schools did what the real HBCUs do. They got together and had a great time on that Friday night. It was Dr. Ross and some of his administration and I believe some trustees. And so there was a great camaraderie there that we often do at HBCUs. We're not like predominantly white schools that fight in bars on the night before the games. We get together and we unify. And so since that had happened, I think the university didn't want them to feel like they were on their own in condemning that. And so the statement did that. I thought it was succinct, it was professional, it was to the point, and it needed to be done to show that the university did not support, that particular activity. And so, yeah, I applaud Marvin Johnson. Like Stephen and I were on the phone early in the morning trying to get the story together, and we're talking, and the message comes out, and he goes, "Oh snap! I got the FAMU release." So it actually was able to go into the story, and it made it more complete that you at least had both sides agreeing on the thoughts about what happened.
Okay, more band news. I promise you we do have some football coming up in a minute here. The Fort Valley State University band has been suspended, the entire band. This is a quote that came from the communications department at Fort Valley State University. It says, Fort Valley State University has directed the Blue Machine Marching Band to suspend all activity due to allegations of hazing. Fort Valley State University takes acts of hazing and allegations of hazing seriously, and the matter is being investigated. The safety and well-being of our students and Wildcat community are always our top priority. So Fort Valley State will not have a band, it seems, for the rest of the football season, including an upcoming homecoming game. Homecoming without a band. That is not exactly what alumni and students would have on their bingo card to start the year.
Not at all. As a school who went through a situation and me covering so many other situations, you send a kid to school to get an education. If they want to join an organization or extracurriculars, that's fine. But for there to be any harm, injury, or other is completely, just as I think you and Wilton said about what you're allowed to say now as opposed to in the past. In the past, let me tell you, every band, every fraternity, it was tough. It was rough and tough to get into those organizations. Those things have diminished now, and the way that you intake people into your organizations have had to change. And many schools have adopted a zero tolerance policy. So what that means is, Fort Valley State, you violated the zero tolerance policy. We must take a hard stand against it, because nobody wants a repeat of what we had a year ago, with the band member.
Yeah, absolutely. It is not worth. It is not worth that. We enjoy the bands. We appreciate them. We love them. But no experience is worth all of that. Wilton, I want to jump you in on some football here. Let's show the tape here. Delaware State University, they lost to Sacred Heart over the weekend, 35-31. Their quarterback, Caden Bennett, was kicked out of the game. He gets 2 flags on this play, Wilton. He runs into the end zone. You're not going to see the end of it, but he's going to slap hands, high fives with the fans on the road. Hey, that takes some swag to do that. He gets 1 flag there. He doesn't give the ball to the first official. He gives it to the second official. And the first official, who didn't get the ball, who was asking for the ball, threw that second flag, and he was ejected from the game. Too unsportsmanlike. He's the heart and soul of that offense, along with the running backs. A big part of it, at least. Delaware State loses 35-31. That's a tough call on the road, Wilton. High-fiving fans and giving the ball to the second official, not the first official, in its first quarter, and your star quarterback gets kicked out of the game, which Delaware State was on a roll. They go on to lose by 4.
Tolly, I thought that was, honestly, not needed, honestly. But he was giving high fives. I could see if he, maybe slapped a fan, or, we've seen NFL players spit on people. We've seen, hey, maybe he pushed a ref or something like that, or got into it with a player. He just gave a simple high five, a human action to a fan, a high five. No disrespect, no chatter, no disrespect or anything like that. Just a simple 5 fingers, this my right hand right here, and said a high five. I just think that's crazy for him to get ejected from a game. And then the fact that, okay, the first official, are you that mad that he didn't give you the ball as opposed to giving it to your compadre? you still got the ball. You getting on with the next play. What big deal was it that in this exchange that he had to get ejected for that? That's just my thoughts. I could be totally wrong, but I just
No, Wilton, you're right on. There is a penalty for that. It's called delay of game because they're trying to continue the game. If someone doesn't give the referees the opportunity to continue play, it is called delay of game. It is not a personal foul because apparently the teams got into some kind of skirmish at the beginning, so they threw a personal foul on everybody, pretty much everybody out there. So this was his second personal foul. But that was not a personal foul. That was a delay of game would have been the appropriate call. That's a 5-yard penalty, and he gets to finish the game. It is not a personal foul. It did not rise to the level of a personal foul. That was a delay of game, and I stand on that.
Vaughn, Deshaun Jackson said in his 30 years of football, he's never seen anything like that called. Vaughn, I've known you long enough to remember some moaning and groaning from HBCUs on the road getting some questionable calls.
Absolutely. This is a happened there. They weren't able to spot the ball to go to the next play. That is a delay of game. It is not a personal foul. Nobody was personally hurt, intentionally embarrassed, or anything. He was high-fiving fans, celebrate. Even an excessive celebration call is not a personal foul. If you want to go to that level, say excessive celebration. But to call a personal foul on him was it didn't rise to that level, and it determined the outcome of the game ultimately.
Indeed. But the one good thing about Delaware State, all you got to do is win the MEAC, win those games. But still, you hate to see that streak that they had going broken in a game that they could have won against Sacred Heart. All right, let's get on the road to the Celebration Bowl, the SWAC East and the SWAC West. So we'll begin in the SWAC East, where I'm thinking the question that's popping into my head, fellas, is this officially a two-team race? Is it going to come down to Alabama State and Jackson State, or do we have some other contenders there in the middle? Vaughn, I don't know about FAMU. Bethune-Cookman.
Oh, you know the Rattlers got this.
Bethune-Cookman had everybody shocked. They got Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M without Quad Brown is just a different team, but can their star quarterback return from injury and have the Bulldogs go on a run? Guys, your thoughts? Anybody getting past Alabama State or Jackson State outside of them beating one another?
What I saw from Alabama State this past weekend is Eddie Robinson finally has the balance on offense and defense. This year, actually, he has the offense leading the defense, which is unlike an Eddie Robinson team. They've always been a defensive-based team, but now with Andrew Body, and Andrew Body had the luxury this weekend at FAMU of playing Jalen Hurts, facilitator. Hand the ball off right, hand the ball off left. About 2 passes a quarter he needed to complete, and then hand the ball back off. And in his defense and special teams, creating turnovers, blocking kicks, all those types of things. You look, and Eddie Robinson has his team flying around, really like that. TC Taylor, all I can say about TC is TC wins every game he's supposed to win. And they've done it so consistently that it's almost unflattering, and it's not fair to them that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But it's almost like, okay, Jackson State was supposed to win that game. It's hard to win a football game, and people forget that. But he's molded that team into TC's team. They are hitting on all cylinders. They continue to win in different ways, and so it's almost. They're not playing boring football, but it's almost boring. They're so good that it's almost boring that they keep winning. That's all. It may sound like an oxymoron. So it's a crash course between Jackson State and Alabama State. But also I've seen Bethune-Cookman, and I saw him play Edward Waters, and I saw the Alabama A&M game. They could be the dark horse that may upset one of those because the offense is potent. Number 6, Huggins, that receiver, is fast. Gets off the line, he receives, and the quarterback delivers to them. They could be the dark horse. Raymond Woody Raymond Woody Sr. down there. If you saw him after that game, that energy he had, you've never seen. I didn't think he had that in him. He's always a quiet guy.
I saw that. I was shocked.
I never.
I was wondering if it was AI.
So, so it's the SWAC East is very exciting. You got the collision course, and one of these is going to play out this weekend because Bethune goes to Alabama State for their homecoming. So then it'll be between Jackson State and the winner of that game, who's the favorite in the East. Listen, until you beat the man, Jackson State is still the target. They're still number 1.
Wilton,
but
anyone
it could
named
be some good competition in there.
Wilton, anyone not named Jackson State or Alabama State going to win this division this year?
Personally, I don't think so. I think it comes down to those two teams, but I will say this. I'm a person that has seen a few things as well, and I never want to jump too soon. But I do think it's going to come down to those two, but I'm not throwing away Alabama A&M just yet. To Vaughn's point, he said Bethune-Cookman could be the dark horse. Alabama A&M was my dark horse, or still is my dark horse in this SWAC East, and really just the SWAC in general. And a lot of it has to do with the fact of, the type of coach that Sam Shade is and what he's been able to do with their program just thus far. Obviously they had a backup quarterback that was leading them, and he didn't play bad. I just think that most of us thought that when we saw Alabama A&M against Bethune-Cookman, we thought that this was going to be a game that could be fairly close, but we thought that the advantage would still go to Alabama A&M. Had Quad Brown maybe played in this game, maybe he would have been a difference maker to still get a close victory against Bethune-Cookman. But here we are. Bethune-Cookman has won a game. And what I also know about Bethune-Cookman, and we kind of saw glimpses of it last year, they do have a high potent offense. And now it's just a matter of, can they build on this throughout the rest of SWAC play, specifically when you talk about the SWAC East Division, and continue to get more wins. So I'll definitely have my eyes closely on that game against Alabama State for their homecoming. But you also get on the other side. When I say the other side, still in the SWAC East Division, you get Jackson State and Alabama A&M in the Gulf Coast Challenge this weekend. This is a game that I can guarantee you Alabama A&M hasn't forgot from last year. Jackson State hasn't forgot from last year. Of course, Jackson State has won over the last couple of years, but this is going to be a pivotal game. Like, this is, we start talking about as we get into the month of October, and throughout the month of October, we begin to talk about that separation phase. And I think that, to your point, Tolly, we're going to see the two teams neck and neck, Alabama State, Jackson State. And, oh, by the way, they don't play this weekend, but the next weekend for Jackson State's homecoming, we're going to be able to kind of start to see which of these two teams will separate to take over the SWAC East.
All right, let's take a look at those SWAC West standings, and they don't call it the Wild Wild West just for nothing, because you got to figure out who's going to win this division. Is UAPB is this going to be their year? I had them this weekend. The offense looked pretty good for about 3/4 of the game. They were able to score and put up points. Prairie View A&M, you think, okay, new coach, can they hold on and do it? So far, so good. Texas Southern, Grambling, Southern at 1-4. They were predicted to win the division. Alcorn State still looking for their first win. They had it late against UAPB. Some key penalties took them out of the game. Guys, I'm thinking you just take a dart, man, and put this little printout up on the wall and throw it, and you might have about a 50% chance of hitting the winner.
It's not the last week of the season yet, so why are we even talking about the SWAC West?
Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you.
The last game hadn't been played. You can never predict the SWAC West. It ends when it ends. They're like, we'll let you know when it's done.
Yeah.
We're gonna put you on a standby flight, but don't worry about trying to get on early. Like you just wasting your time.
Don't check your bags. Don't. Just sit over there and have some high-priced airport food.
No, but seriously, and I think more so than anything, Tolly, like right now, if I had to give a gauge on who the best team, in my opinion, is in limited, SWAC play right now it's Prairie View's division to lose. I think you're seeing, from the play of Tevin Carter at quarterback, Chase Beeman at running back, Rockwell at wide receiver that they have at Preview. Like they're coming along. You can see pieces that they're building together, and obviously Tremaine Jackson has them locked in. But it's just so close because in my mind, I think that while you just said Southern is 1-4, we also know a Southern team from last year that sat in a similar position and then found a way to win games, string along several wins in like crazy late game situations. So it can still happen, So, and then of course, I won't say Arkansas Pine Bluff will win the SWAC West, but I can guarantee you this. If Christian Peters can find a way to duplicate the performance that he had this past weekend
career high,
and Arkansas Pine Bluff doesn't hurt themselves, they may be in some games.
Yeah, because if you look at Pine Bluff on that last scoring run, being a football guy, the blocking was off the charts. Everyone pulled, got their assigned guy, got a body on him, running back, just followed the blocks. It was just a thing of beauty for me. And that's telling me that the coach is teaching fundamentals. The offensive line coach is ingraining the assignments. And those are the kind of things that you can help build a team off. So I agree with Wilton. I think it's Prairie Views to lose, but I'm not writing Pine Bluff off. And, of course, Baton Rouge, you just never know what they're cooking down there. So we just going to have to wait. SWAC West, I don't know anybody who can make a great prediction on SWAC West.
Literally and figuratively, you do not know what they are cooking in Baton Rouge. Like, is there alligator in that? Is that chicken? Like what's in that gumbo? Like, we don't have any idea. All right, before we get out of here, let's take a look at the MEAC schedule for the weekend. They have not started conference play yet. They don't start that till January? I think conference play in MEAC football starts in January. They got Morgan State at Georgetown this weekend. You can see that on ESPN+. We got Delaware State at Monmouth, Savannah State at South Carolina State, Norfolk State at Hampton University. Wilton, the Battle of the Bay. Michael Vick and his squad have fallen on some bad luck the last couple of weeks. Will a win in the Battle of the Bay, can that rejuvenate the Michael Vick experience here in year one for Norfolk State?
Not only could it rejuvenate them, but I think Norfolk State needs this win for a piece of momentum. Not even just for this team, but just the fan base as well. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think that the attendance may have been down for this last game for Norfolk State. So I think that when you have a coach like Michael Vick, who's obviously still figuring it out, just like Deshaun Jackson at Delaware State, the best thing you could do as a fan base is rally around him right now. I do think this is a team, obviously, that's still learning, but a signature win in a rivalry game, I think definitely boosts your chances of continuing to do well and continuing to improve throughout the rest of the season.
Vaughn, what have your thoughts been on year one of Michael Vick?
I think Michael Vick year one is very similar to Deion Sanders, Coach Prime's first year. You've got to learn the speed of the game. You've got to understand what level the HBCU coaches are. Just the whole experience of the game, you have to learn that. And without Vick ever being a head coach, at least Prime had some experience in high school being a head coach and offensive coordinator of some very good teams. Vick is learning on the job. And I can see him, it just seems like when I see videos of him, he's taking in everything that's happening. He's trying to coach, but he's trying to take it in as well to try to understand, okay, I'm going to put this in my bag so that as I get into developing my plan for long term, I understand that. So he still has to have experiences that he's going to have. It would be great for Norfolk State to get this victory. The fans, you don't want them to lose that energy. Wilton talk about possibly the decreased attendance. You don't want them to lose that momentum. And so I think it's critical for Norfolk State to get this win. And it'll be a big boost to both Michael Vick's understanding of being a coach and what it takes to win.
All right, Norfolk State, I think you can get Hampton. Norfolk State. But that's why they play the game. So we'll have to watch that this weekend. We'll talk about it next week. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We were all over the place. We had breaking news again in case you missed it. Mississippi State FAMU was supposed to be this Saturday, October the 4th. In Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz. You can go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium if you want to on Saturday. There will not be a football game.
There won't be a game.
There will not be a game there. You can go hang out, take pictures. It's a nice, we call it the spaceship here in Atlanta. There will not be a game happening inside. So that game has been moved to Itabena for November 29th. Which will be after the Florida Classic. So that's the breaking news. Man, I hope you enjoyed it. We had a good time today, but we got to go. So we will see you later. This is HBCU Game Day. Week 6 is on deck. Enjoy it, and we'll talk to you guys next week.